moving to the next one. I'm going to put the camera over slightly to get it lengthwise.
We're at City Lights Gallery in Bridgeport on Tiny Markle Way, and we're interviewing the artists who have a opening today, and it's a Bridgeport show, and it's showing off our colors. The person who designed the poster is with me now. It's Tina, and I'd like her to have a chance to tell you a little bit about the poster first, and then we'll move over to her artwork.
Okay. Hi, my name is Tina Summers. I work for People's Bank. I'm a creative director there, and I'm also on the board of City Lights. Born and bred in Bridgeport, and I live here as well as I work here. And Billie Jean and I kind of came up with the idea for a T-shirt, kind of just, just everybody knows Bridgeport by all the old buildings and the scenes on I-95, and we kind of wanted sort of black and white and then some color just to spruce it up.
I understand that you're a photographer.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your education?
Sure. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia. I studied graphic design, but I do a lot of travel photography. And, I just always feel that, I always like to show things in their best light. And so really the pictures and scenes I've taken are really the best of Bridgeport and the places that I enjoy and inspire me the most.
And they certainly are well done. What kind of a camera have you used?
Well, I used to have a traditional Pentax, but I'd say throughout the years I've kind of switched over, and now I do all digital. I'd say it's Canon, and I might do a little computer manipulation as far as cleaning images up, but I really don't rely on the computer. It's really composition in the eye and just the feeling you get from it.
Very nice, and we do get a great feeling. Most of them sort of outdoor summer scenes, really warm, and they're so welcoming on a cold day like today. Where do you get some of your inspiration?
I would say nature, landscapes, animals, color. I'm really big into color, as you can tell from the T-shirt design. So things like the Discovery Museum or, Captain's Cove at sunset. I don't know. They're just beautiful, and they're things that people drive by and they never even notice on a daily basis. So it's just kind of nice just to promote things that people never really pay attention to or see. Or, this gazebo here is, on the east side in Washington Park, and, hardly any of us get over to that side of the city anyway, but there's beauty everywhere.
There certainly is, and you certainly have brought it out. Can you tell us anything else about yourself and growing up in Bridgeport, or any of these particular pictures mean anything to you?
Okay, actually, the one that probably means the most to me is this one here in the corner. It's the People's United Bank building. It was designed by Richard Meyer, one of my favorite 21st century architects. And I like this building so much. It was my favorite building that I had an interview for a bank, and I didn't want to work for a bank because I'm an artist. And I knew if I went for an interview, I got to see what was inside the building. So that's kind of what brought me downtown here.
We're at City Lights Gallery with Tom Brenner, and he's an artist who works in pastels. And these pastels are really kind of moody. Someone said gloomy. They sort of differ from the work that you normally do?
Yeah, I've been teaching and painting for a long time, and one of my main interests is getting dark light contrast and describing form that way, which an overcast sky is really bad for. But I went out to find some nice subject matter for the show, actually just about a month ago, and it was a December sort of drizzly, rainy day, and I thought that the mood was really nice and the colors were actually shown off very nicely by all the grays, so I just kind of went for it. But it's different from anything else I've shown here, yeah.
Do you have a favorite, or can you relate to any of these scenes, these Bridgeport scenes from your past, or?
it looks rainy and drizzly, but the colors are, I think, kind of, I guess they're gloomy to some people, but they're kind of appealing to me. If you look at the gray, the gray is really sort of green and aqua and purple and whatever.
There is a lot of color in that, yes, yes. There's also a sense of space and a sense of place, and how fortunate Bridgeport is to have that coastline.
Yeah, and what's kind of funny is that at least in 3 of them, there's the constant reminder you're in Bridgeport because of the red and white tower. Normally, the other thing is that the landscapes I do that are connected with Bridgeport, which I've been doing for a number of years, are really architectural landscapes, which is something I've always loved, Edward Hopper and whatnot. But these have a lot more sort of natural elements.
Oh, I enjoy your work tremendously. I really do. And thank you for this. Thank you for sharing it with us. Any final thoughts about Bridgeport, or about teaching, or about yourself?
Well, I love Bridgeport. I happen to live just over the line in Fairfield. Of course, everyone's always hoping that there's a renaissance in Bridgeport, and I think there's already been something of a renaissance. I hope it continues. Places like City Lights really helps, and all of the great restaurants. And like a lot of the other artists, I find a lot of beauty in the older aspects of Bridgeport. So while I hope Bridgeport does kind of have a new awakening, I hope it doesn't lose the character that it's had for so long.
Well, thank you, Andy. I really appreciate your comments and sharing your artwork with us.
Bye-bye.
Now here we go again. Alyssa Lerboga, hot dog vendor. And now down at the bottom here, obviously we have the Barnum Museum.
I thought he had a stroke when the guys take him out, the twins, they're his buddies.
Beautiful
They
picture.
said there's nothing wrong.
No, it's like I have Joan Peters looking down Gregory Street. The next one here, Rachel Rockwell, Golden Hill Church, watercolor. Now to Steve Gerber.
Hi, we're here at City Lights Gallery, and I would like to introduce you to not only the artist of the work behind me, these beautiful pastels, were also done by a man who manages the gallery. And I would like him to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Steve Gerber. I'm the manager of City Lights and also an artist, and welcome.
And Steve, I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about this pastel right over your shoulder. I understand that it is something you saw something going on just yesterday?
Well, as most people have heard, there was a fire at the Remington building, but I actually had been there about a week earlier. I go every so often and just look for different angles and interesting just pieces of the building to draw.
And your work is really sort of kind of loose and kind of free, and it looks really very contemporary, and yet we can appreciate the old architecture and the history behind some of this work.
Well, that's part of it. My work is usually a little bit more realistic, a little bit more detailed, and I challenged myself to try to loosen up a little bit and try to just be a little more expressive with the colors that are there, and using black paper just to kind of give yourself, try to, instead of sort of going darker with the color, I started dark and tried to go a little lighter and bring out the sky and the colors. And usually pastels just have a nice richness when you do them on a dark background like that.
Can you tell us something about managing the gallery, about City Lights?
Well, I've been here almost 3 years now or so, and we all sort of work together here. We may have titles, but we sort of share the responsibilities. I generally physically hammer the nails in the wall to put these things up. I just enjoy doing that. The shows seem to put themselves together. The layouts just seem to work out. We've done enough of these that we have a sense of how much fits and just where to place them, and it generally works out well. We've been adding color to the walls over the last few months just to spark up some of the paintings that, just to give a little change here and there.
Well, you make it all sound easy, but I'm sure City Lights is a real success in a city where we have tried before, and there have not been always successes. What other kind of background do you have besides being an artist? How do you get into managing a gallery?
Well, the truth is I do picture framing and have done that for many years. I'm a graphic designer, I'm an illustrator, but when this gallery first was established, I came in with the thought of setting up a frame shop here, it's a little source of an income. And it just evolved that I got involved in all aspects of the business, and just evolved that I became the manager, and still am, still doing the picture framing. But again, everyone shares the responsibilities here. So I'm working with artists, finding new artists, helping them make their work look good by framing it nicely. And
it certainly is a real asset to Bridgeport. And you're slip of the tongue with building. These are buildings. You've really built something here. You've really built a very nice gallery, and thank you.
Well, thank you. It's very rewarding to see so many people. We get this many people at most of our shows, so there's something good going on in Bridgeport. Where we are a nice, positive story. We, glad to see so many people turn out. I see a lot of new faces this time. We have some artists in the show that this is their first time showing with us, and that always brings some new faces into the crowd. We have 30 or so artists represented here, which automatically gives a nice cross-section of guests to come. If everyone invites a few, then we get a lot of new faces.
That's a lot of people coming into Bridgeport and realizing what is here, what Bridgeport does have to offer. So thank you.
Thank you.
How will you say the name? Murano. There were no titles by each. Oh, wait, here are the titles in the corner. Okay. The very top one, I can't read. Okay, it says they put.
We're here at City Lights Gallery with Mary Witkowski, and she's an artist who works in collage, and her work is behind us, and I'm going to ask her to tell us a little bit about some of the work.
Well, what I do is actually mixed media, so it's not just collage. It's actually, some of it is acrylic, some of it is pen on paper, and some of it is hand-colored. What I do is actually kind of tell little stories about Bridgeport. I'm the Bridgeport City Historian, and I also am the head of the historical collections of the Bridgeport Public Library. And I end up putting some of the stories I've learned along the way in my pieces, which in this case, I have Mr. Magic, who is actually a well-known character that used to be on Boston Avenue. He just passed away a few years ago, and it's a story about his carpets, which he called his flying carpets. This one here is an old joke, actually, about the Seaside Park. The statue of Elias Howe that's in Seaside Park. This is Elias Howe, looking a little different. He's on his pedestal. But the old joke is when I was doing an interview with a woman who was in her 80s, I never knew this until recently. Doing this interview, she said, I asked her if she had ever gone down to the parks in Bridgeport, and she told me the story about how the boys would take you down to see the Howe statue, to see Howe standing up. And that was a joke. And I looked at her that that was really what they did. And she said, yep, the boys would take you down there. So that's what the sort of story is behind that piece there. And the last one is actually the Sterling Widows Home, which is over on Prospect Street. It's a wonderful old building that was a widow's home for Civil War widows, actually. And I I changed their characters to kind of give it more of a sort of 21st century look to them, to give the story a new story again.
And they certainly do look 21st century. And it does evoke the past. It evokes Bridgeport. And you've done a wonderful job of carrying on those stories, because I can relate to these places. I remember them. And it makes it come alive. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Enjoy this show.
The first one is State Street. It's photography. Photograph of State Street. The next one, obviously here. Okay. I don't see a title for it, but I look for it. The hoop, it says, the hoop. Okay.
Hi, we're here first from far away and getting closer to some acrylic paintings that really look photographic from far away. But when you get up close to them, they really are quite impressionistic and quite exciting to look at. Breck, I had some interesting questions to ask you about your past and how you came to Bridgeport.
All right. First I left high school at about 16, traveled on freight trains cross country. I've always had a little bit of wanderlust, sailed around the world single-handed, and got back about 4 years ago and found a studio here in Bridgeport where I'm presently painting. This particular show is fascinating, and when I was told that it was specifically about Bridgeport subjects, I got out my camera, immediately went down to Seaside Park and started, looking for reference photos that I could use for some paintings. Seaside Park has always been one of the magic jewels of Bridgeport, I think, and selected a number of pieces from Seaside area. Including the seagull and Barnum, who stares out to sea into all eternity down there. The title of the painting actually is Thy Will, Not Mine, and I thought it was bizarre. When I went down years ago, I did a portrait of Barnum for the Connecticut Commission on the Arts, which is in the Welcome Center over coming on 84 into Danbury. And I did a lot of research on him, read his autobiographies, and went to his tomb, which is over in the cemetery here, and it just says, Barnum, Thy Will, Not Mine. And I thought, for a man who had one of probably the biggest shows on earth, and for the greatest salesman, whatever he's thought of, to have that on his tombstone was quite interesting, So there was a spiritual side to the man that most people are not aware of. And hopefully they're not just photographic representations of things, but I'm hoping that there's another level of meaning in a lot of what I do as well, so that it goes from prose into a bit of poetry where it can resonate on a number of levels.
They certainly do. They really do. And as I said, from far away, they're just totally different than when you get up close and personal with them.
One of the things that I've always loved about paintings, or certain paintings, certain painters, is the fact that they do look photographic from a distance, very realistic. The closer and closer you get, the more you realize that it's paint, it's brush strokes, it's just stuff on canvas moving around. So I never want to get rid of the idea that there's an artist's hand involved as well. And there's always a space somewhere, whether it's a few inches or a few feet or whatever, where it all kind of disappears as paint and it becomes something else. Some of the great painters, Moran and Winslow Homer, a lot of those guys are very much the same. So that's what I enjoy about, really love about painting, and hopefully mine do the same.
Very nice, really. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us. Beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Do you have any other words about Bridgeport, or?
Yeah, the American Fabrics building that I'm in now hopefully will be starting as an artist center and an artist studio workplace as soon as the city manages to get the proper developer for it. So hopefully there'll be an artist center and community developing over at the American Fabrics building within the next year and a half. So I'm very excited about that. Hopefully it'll be one great success story for redevelopment efforts in the city.
Life is a cabaret, oil, on masonite.
See things like this, these structures that kind of pop out of trees or have logos on them. I just feel how industry kind of bombards us visually and psychically, and so they capture my attention. We see them all the time, and I think about how they affect us, and they definitely are a part of our urban landscape. And I don't know who's documenting them, but they're and also to do something industrial in a technique of watercolor, which is a very natural and free-flowing medium. I thought there was a dualism there. So.
We have some more oil paintings.
These are oil paintings. This is a smaller one done on site, plein air of Port Jeff Ferry coming in at Seaside Park. And part of my idea when I do my work is I feel like I'm capturing a moment or a sentiment. It's not just a painting about an object or a place. It's about a moment in time. And to capture the reflection of the water or what the weather was like or the mood or maybe my mood. And to mark the passage of time, anybody who's ever watched the Port Jeff Ferry knows that, it's only in one spot for a short moment. And as it comes in, it affects the tide, that all the waves come in. Well, this is from I-95, which I see all the time. And probably my favorite structure in the city of Bridgeport is the UI power plant. I am so captured by it. It's amazing that I haven't had an accident on 95 looking at it as I drive by. But thank goodness I was able to get this snapshot when I was going by. And, we've been so lucky and unlucky to have amazing sunsets all year, not only in October and autumn when I'm used to seeing them. I don't know if it's probably due to pollution and global warming, but they are beautiful regardless. So one of my other preoccupations, other than time and memory and capturing a moment, is technology versus nature. And I know that places like this, although we like them because they give us our lights and the power that we need to have the life that we have, they are polluting, and we know, again, the good and the bad. We get these beautiful sunsets, but I also know what that means. So all of this, to me, is a constant reminder of the energy that we get, but also the price that we'll probably pay down the road for all the pollution and energy that we are wasting or using up. I know I'm going to keep painting. I'm very happy to be involved with this gallery. I think it's one of the best things happening in the city right now. And that's prejudice, because I know there's other good things happening in the city too. But I'm very happy to be a part of it. We run a figure drawing group here on Saturdays from 12:30 to 3:30. If anybody wants to come, we'd love to have you. And I'm very happy to be able to paint in Bridgeport. I think it's so intriguing. It has beautiful urban landscapes. It has seaside. We have beautiful architecture, urban and industrial architecture, as well as classical architecture. We have sturdy character people here, a wonderful mixture. This one down here of the break dancers, to me, that's shows to me a lot of hope for the city. So when I saw them breakdancing at our Art on the Green, it brought me back, and who knows, maybe this time, the city will start to really flourish. I'm hopeful, anyway.
And your hope does show in your work. It's beautiful work. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, we're here at City Lights Gallery with Andy Pinto, an artist who works in acrylics and also photography. He has some of his acrylic paintings here, and they're acrylics on canvas, and the color just jumps out at me. They're just so exciting.
It's interesting that you mentioned the color, because it's really all about the color. Somebody a short while ago was looking at it, and they said, why all the brick? Well, the brick just happens to be there, but the brick is what gives it the colors. And what I'm really interested in is the wear, the use of the buildings. I'm interested in the end of an era. The Industrial Revolution interests me. Other than the factory buildings here, I like to paint old mill buildings. It's a series now that's going on for maybe 11, 12 years. I don't see an end to it. It's become a historical representation. I'm very excited about painting it. There are other things I paint. The one that you see on the side over here, the water, is the latest one that I did, and it's really a break from the brick buildings. I took a peek at it and said, wow, this one is about the water. It's not about the buildings at all. So I had a lot of fun painting that one. I do. I think of the color. I think the color is very important to it. So I'm always looking for, complementary colors, opposing color schemes. It's different than a photograph. That's a comment that people say. It's like, oh, they're so realistic. There's nothing realistic about them at all. When I paint them, I edit everything about them. Colors can be what they have to be. If I'm looking for interesting crops and framings, I invent it. If you need a broken window, I include it. If you need a white space, it's in there. If something is obtrusive, it gets removed. This show is about Bridgeport, and I was born in Bridgeport. I'm very excited about Bridgeport. I am a firm believer that the renaissance of Bridgeport is tied to the arts and also the saving of some of these buildings. The other night, Remington caught fire. It really depresses me that people don't see the beauty in these buildings and they're willing to destroy things like that. So, that's one reason that I take part in the shows that come to City Lights.
Thank you very much, Andy. Hi, we're here at City Lights Gallery, and I'm with Liz Squillace, and we happen to be in front of her painting of the corner of Markle and State Street.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about it?
Yeah, I painted this on a sunny day in the middle of summer. Actually, it was the late summer, and I just set up an easel, and I had some paint in my car, and it was basically just exterior house paint, and I went up, and I had this canvas stretched, and I painted exactly what I saw.
You also have another talent, I understand.
Yes, I'm also a screen printer, so I have screen printed works over on that wall.
Let's go take a look. So you've screen printed on a stretched fabric?
Yep, on a printed fabric, and I actually print on it first and then stretch. And basically, I take photographs of Bridgeport, or anything really, but for this, it's Bridgeport. So I was out there taking pictures of the birds, and then I transform them into silk screens, and then I can print on anything I like. So I printed these on different fabrics and stretched them.
And does it matter what kind of camera you use for your negative?
I just use a basic digital camera, and then I manipulate in the computer a little bit, heighten the contrast, and but really just want something clean, really clean, and always contrast, because silkscreen it's like a stencil type medium, so you're really going for darks and lights and blocking out as opposed to lots of gray tones and whatnot.
What made you choose silkscreen and photographic silkscreen at that?
Gosh, I guess it's because whenever I'm just outside looking at the environment or architecture and life, I always want to just capture a part of it and put it in my hands and be able to recreate that. And I found that photography and silkscreen enables me to do that, to put that in my hands. Yeah. I've also made these T-shirts that I kind of wanted to show. Bridgeport Calling.
They're super. They're really bright. They really pop out. They're really, really nice. Very nice work.
I don't think I got these before. Let me see what else I can just get a good scan.